Hey everyone, welcome again to our channel. My name is Daniel, and in this video we are going to discuss about how your host can either make you or break you in your DV lottery or green card journey. A host is someone who is living legally in the United States, either as a student, a permanent resident, or a USA citizen. What you should know is that you do not need to have a host in the United States for your application or to participate in the DV lottery application process. At the point of application, it is just your name and your derivatives names, then you submit the form. You would only need a host after the DV lottery selection process is out, and it happens that you have been randomly selected to proceed or participate with the DV lottery process going forward. So at this point, you will be forced to look for someone who is legally living in the United States and who is willing to give his or a mail address, or what you call as mailing address, as it will be required when you are filling your DS260 forms. So at this point, when you will be filling your DS260 form or forms, in that case, if you have derivatives, there is a section you will be asked to provide the name and the mail address for someone who is living in the United States. So without having someone, when you're filling the DS260 form, it will be incomplete. When filling the DS260 forms, you only need your host's full name and his or her current mailing address. The other things that you may need from your host will come after receiving your second notification letter, or letters called 2NL. In the second notification letter, there will be instructions provided on the list of documents that you are supposed to get from your host before attending your visa interview. And the list of documents from your host will vary from embassy to embassy. The documents that will be required in Nairobi embassy will be different, or it may be different from the documents required for someone who is attending interview from Cameroon. So in this case, you need to be very keen on the instructions that will be provided on the list of documents that you need to ask from your host. Some of the documents that you may need from your host are things like Form I-134, which is requested by some specific embassies. Not all of them ask for Form I-134, which should be fully filled and signed by your host. Form I-134 is a 13-page form filled by your host, and part of it filled by you as the DV lottery winner. But much of it contains your host's information. This form does not come on its own. It's accompanied by other documents like tax return receipts, a copy of your host's driving license, or a copy of his or her passport, a copy of a certificate of naturalization in case your host has become a citizen. And another point to note here is that you can change your host's at any given point, either by unlocking your DS260 form before your case numbers goes current, or you can unlock during your interviews. And finally, you can change your host at the point of entry, or what you call as the port of entry to the United States. This is where the last point where you enter United States, what we call as the port of entry. At the port of entry, there is always a pre-interview where you present the brown or khaki envelope, which will come with your visas after the visa interviews. This envelope is written confidential and do not open. It is supposed to be handed over to the immigration officer at the port of entry. At the port of entry, you will be asked whether you are going to the host you had indicated in your DS260 form, or you changed your host. If you changed your host, the immigration officer will ask you for the name, address, and the phone number of your new host. After clearance at the point of entry, you need a host or someone to pick you from the airport and take you to his or her home. So from this point, the process of molding and reshaping you will begin. Because from here, everything you're gonna do will depend on your host, because you and your derivatives are new in the United States and you don't know how you move or you can move forward. You will need your host to help you navigate around and assist you to apply for things like the social security numbers for you and your derivatives. SSN number is very important because you cannot work or you cannot do anything without having that SSN number for you and your derivatives. Your host will assist you open a bank account and help you apply for the driving license. Driving license here, you apply online. There's an exam that you take. Your host will pay for that. And then after that, you go for the test itself. Then after that, you are given a driving license. Your host will help you enroll your kids or children to school if you came to the States as a family. Your host can also help you find jobs and not keep you long in his or her house doing nothing. Actually, some hosts will keep you for long if they have kids or other things that they need you to help them with. So in this case, I will urge you that in this case, you have to strike a deal with your host that you need also to get these documents and get a job, and maybe you help yourself and your family from there instead of doing nothing in his or her house. Your host will help you find an apartment and in some cases assist you to co-sign for the apartment because you are new in the United States and you have no credit history, which in most cases, most of the apartment and the leasing offices look at before they allow you sign the leasing documents or the leasing papers. Another thing, the host will also help you in buying your first car in the United States because you need a car to take you to work and bring you home after work. You will not depend on your host to drop you to work and pick you, because in some cases you may be having different work schedules and in different days, so you need to have a car. Finally, your host will always act as your job referee whenever you are applying for jobs, because this is the only person that you know in the United States. And in some cases, your host can guide you on how to go about building your credit scores and refer you to friendly credit lenders that can give you credit cards. So guys, from all those things that I've mentioned above about the host, you can agree, or you can now agree with me, that a host in the United States can either shape you to the right direction or let you down, as you will be struggling to adjust with the new life in the United States. So that's why we normally say that your host is a very important person that will always determine your future life in the United States. In this case, if your host is fast, he or she is going to make things work so fast for you. And if your host is slow, you will take a lot of time to learn and acquire most of the required documents that will allow you work legally in the United States. So the area you can move from your host and start doing your own things will also depend on how your host is helping you or guiding you forward. So guys, that's why we normally say anything that you will be doing in the United States after landing will depend on your host and on your consciousness, how you want things be done. You can also guide your host on what you want once you get to the United States, because you know you want a social security number. Tell that person that I need this, and the host will take you to the social security offices and apply for the same. So thank you guys for watching and supporting our channel. Keep watching many of our videos and refer your friends and family to this channel and share our videos. Above all, remember to subscribe to this channel, and by so doing, you make us grow as a family. Thank you, and see you in our next video. Bye bye.